That's right. It's time for a Jake's Art Club. I hope you're ready. Tips and techniques every 2 weeks. 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 Tips and techniques every 2 weeks.
Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. It's great to have you here. Looks like we've got a load of different countries joining in. We've got Germany, Canada, Bournemouth, not country, but still a lovely place. Someone from Israel, the US. Hey, welcome to the stream. It's great to have you here. And if this is your first art club, it's an interactive art class, basically, where you can paint along. We can all paint along together and learn some tips and techniques. So today we're looking at pet portraits. Wonderful subject. Yeah, so I hope you've got a photo of a furry friend or someone's pet that you'd like to paint, or you can paint along with me, absolutely no problem. The challenge this week, I set challenges every 2 weeks too, and the challenge this week, let me just adjust my brasserie, was to paint, get outside, paint plein air with a limited palette, and there was some brilliant entries, really lovely stuff, and I can't wait to share that with you later on. And do stick around because I'll be setting you another challenge for the next 2 weeks as well. So today I'm using oil paints. I'm going to tell you all my materials in a second, but feel free to join in with whatever you have. Okay, you've got acrylics, you've got gouache, watercolors. It's better that we're painting than if we don't have the right materials. Okay, so no excuses. Get painting, get drawing, and grab whatever you have and have some fun. So let's look at the schedule, or schedule. Here we go. So yeah, a little intro and canvas prep. Just gonna, if you haven't already prepped a canvas, gonna give you that opportunity to do that. Then I've got a fantastic interview with portrait painter Carl Ball. He's a wonderful guy from Norfolk. Managed to sit down with him and have a brilliant interview about his process. Really inspiring guy. So we're going to watch that interview while our canvases are drying. Then looking at how to sketch for a painting. Okay, so sketching with a pencil, sketching in general is totally different to when you want to sketch for a painting. So that preparatory kind of underdrawing. We'll break that down for you. Then we're going to take a nice little tea break or have a nice glass of water. Real important bit. Stay hydrated. Then we're going to jump in and do the painting. So we're going to give you a whole hour for the painting. You can carry on after that as well if you want. But last week I tried to get you to do too much too quickly. So we're going to have lots of time on this one painting. It's going to be really fun. Yeah, so a few things we're going to cover: how to check values, really important, and how to paint hair and fur for our animals. Then, as I said, jump onto them challenge submissions. This week's challenge and the viewer gallery. So if you haven't joined in before, when you're painting along, you can send a picture of your final piece on Instagram, hashtag Jake's Art Club, and mention jakebussell.art. And we'll see it, and we'll make sure it gets on the stream, okay? And we'll be able to share your work and celebrate it. So if you're joining in for the first time, make sure you do that. And if you enjoy the stream today, like, subscribe, and there's a mailing list too, so you can stay up to date, and that's in the description below. So let's do this. Okay. Yeah, here's some of Carl's work, absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait to share with you this interview. Really cannot wait. But before we do that, I'm going to share with you my materials and what I've got. Okay, so that if you're painting in oils or you're painting whatever you're painting with, you've got an idea of what to get ready. So I'll show you. This week I've got a toned canvas. You'll see here, so it's 50% grey. And I've also, little tip, I've also toned my the paper underneath my glass palette. So also another little tip, if your canvas and your palette are the same color, it really helps when we're getting values. So you don't have to paint it. You don't have to paint it grey, but you've got about 20 minutes now to do that if you'd wish. But by all means, white canvas is fine, whatever you've got to hand. What else have I got here? So I've got some oil paints. I've got 2 of each primary color, okay, warm and a cool for each primary color. And I've got some burnt umber there as well, and a white. No black, okay, we're not going to use any black today. I've got some Gamsol here. This one in here is Gamsol mixed with linseed oil, and this one is purely linseed oil. I'm mostly going to be using this one, a little bit of this one. And over here I've got more Gamsol in a brush cleaner to wash my brushes and change colors. And the brushes I'm using today, I've got some filberts. Sorry, the camera's a little bit. I've got some filberts, I've got a fan brush. We're going to experiment with that. It's quite fun. If you don't have a fan brush though, you can just spray out a brush and have a go. I've got some, various different sizes. So I hope that gives you an idea of what I've got today. And yeah, so what else? Yes, if you have a chance to, it might help to print out the picture of your pet today so that we can check some values a little bit easier. So if you've got that opportunity, perhaps you're watching later and you can pause, go and print it out. That'll come in handy. And is there anything else I missed? No. Okay, let's jump into the amazing interview with Carl Ball, and I'll give you a chance to get ready for painting. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. My guest today is Norfolk-based pet portrait artist Carl Ball. I'm really excited to show you his work. His portraits are bursting with life. He really masters the effects of light on animal fur with broad, painterly brushstrokes. Carl has a fascinating mastery in painting animals, effortlessly captures the loving soul and warmth in pets' eyes. I'm sure his portraits are treasured by families forever. And I'm really excited to have you here, Carl. Thanks for coming on the stream, and it's great to finally meet you.
Hello, thank you for having me. And that introduction was great. Thanks.
No, well deserved, Carl. Really well deserved. I'm really interested. How did it all start? How did you get into painting?
So it was probably the least conventional way possible, really. I didn't actually study art at university or anything like that. I was kind of on that route, but I just kind of had 10 years where I did various different jobs instead. And I always meant to get back into painting. So I bought myself some oils and I'd kind of pick them up maybe for a few weeks at a time here and there. And I never really got anywhere with them. I think I started, for some reason I decided I would start with human portraits.
I've seen some of your portraits. They're great, Carl, they're great.
But start with human portraits is probably not the best idea really, because yeah, they're very difficult. And I did a few, and eventually someone asked me if I could paint their pet. It was actually someone my dad worked with, one of his work colleagues. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a go. It's the first time I've ever painted an animal, and I did it, and she loved it. She wrote me a letter saying how much she loved it, and it made her cry and things like that.
Well, there you go.
And I think I kind of gave it to her as a gift, and she sent me more than enough money for it as well. So yeah, and that kind of made me think, yeah, there's something in this. I should.
I'm so glad you have gone into this because, as I said, your portraits like that. There's something about your portraits. They really capture the soul. Yeah, I mean, she must have been over the moon. You were featured in the paper for doing your NHS portraits for heroes. Just congrats. That was a really, really great thing to do, and credit where it's due for our NHS heroes, right? I mean,
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So going full time, I want to ask you, how did you make that leap to full time? So I think that's something a lot of people struggle with.
So I had some savings, and I went traveling for a bit, and I was very unsure as to what I was going to do when I came back home. And I think because I was in a different frame of mind where I was willing to take risks, I just thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to come home. I'm going to just paint for maybe I'll give myself a year. If I don't make any money, then I'll give up. But as it turned out, I've pretty much had commissions. Like, it hasn't always been full time. There's definitely been some part-time periods, but I've had more time to practice during those and build up my portfolio and things like that. So yeah, it was just taking the plunge, really.
So it really was a leap of faith, and you had a little bit of security there, but you just went for it. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think my prices are very reasonable, but it just kind of allows me to get the experience, but also support myself while I do it. And yeah, the plan is just to, as I get more experience, as I get busier, I can charge more, obviously. And the hard work will pay off, I hope.
I think it is already, definitely. I mean, yeah, no.
Yeah, I was surprised during lockdown. At first, it went very quiet, but after the first couple of months, it really got busy again, and it shocked me that people were still buying pet portraits.
I mean, people are getting more pets, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, or they're at home with their pets all the time, and they think,
yeah, I remember you. What I love about your story, Carl, is that you didn't go to art uni, you had the interest, but it was like in the back of your mind, and then you thought, let's go for it. And that's awesome. You're a great example that it is possible, right? And you don't necessarily need to be in the galleries, and you can make it work.
Yeah, I think social media just helps so much with that, really. Like, I don't even have any website yet, or any or business cards or anything yet. Literally just Instagram and Facebook.
It's mad.
Like, there are so many things you can do on groups, and it's just amazing how you can get your work out there, really.
I do think people worry too much about getting a business card, getting a website. First of all, do have the product. Have the and the work should follow you, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
I want to talk about your working methods, your kind of process.
Yeah.
I know you start with a toned canvas, sketch, and then sort of work dark to light. Is that?
Yeah, I more or less always go dark to light. Yeah. So I always start with the drawing. I always like to make sure I've got that very accurate before I start painting. Although I do tone the canvas first. I usually tone the canvas and actually leave it to dry, and then I draw onto that.
Cool. And what are you toning the canvas with? Just is it acrylic, or are you going in with the oils?
I just go with turpentine and a little bit of black.
Leave that for like a day, or?
Yeah, usually a day, about 24 hours. Sometimes I do it the night before even, and it's usually fine.
And when you say you sketch, is there anything you're looking for in particular, like information that you're planning to give yourself, your future self?
I usually start with like the basic shapes and gradually try to refine those. And I do tend to do a little bit of just like shading of the shadows. I would sometimes sketch in like some of the planes as well, like darker areas. Yeah.
What about likeness? I guess with pets, it's a little bit easier than a face, a person.
Yeah, it does. I always make sure I get the features as accurate as I can, definitely. Like I like to see the likeness in the sketch before I start painting.
So you start with the darks and sort of go from there?
Yeah, and I also start quite thin with the paints as well.
What paints do you use, Carl?
Well, I use quite a few different brands actually, but I tend to go for the ones that are more fluid and kind of the wetter ones. So yeah, Michael Harding, M. Graham.
I haven't had the chance to experiment with them more fluid, the newer type brands that are popping up. I imagine that's you're not having to put so much medium to make it workable. You just go straight from the mix.
Yeah, I don't use a lot of medium really. I just a little bit of thinner in the early stages and maybe a little linseed oil as well. But most of it is just paint from the tube.
What about fur? Because you have such a great simplification of the fur with these big, broad brush strokes?
So I don't tend to try and paint individual strands of fur in. It's more. I just feel like a brush kind of lends itself to fur naturally anyway. Yeah, if that makes sense. You know, so maybe one brush stroke is enough to kind of represent.
Lastly, I wanted to ask you about the eyes, because your eyes are very, very great. Like they capture the light coming in and bouncing off. So is there any particular process for the eyes?
Still dark to light. It's I usually leave them till the end. It's kind of like a reward for all of the hard work, because like I always find the eyes more enjoyable, especially features. I really hate painting noses and mouths, but I enjoy the eyes a lot. And
I think the eyes have like a mesmerizing effect, don't they? And if you put to paint them too early, you might have been lazy in other areas, and you think, oh well, the eyes are captivating now.
That's it. Yeah, I try not to use too many different colors, like for the what's it called, the color part of the eyes, the iris.
Iris.
Yeah, so I try and limit that maybe to just like maybe 3 tones. If not, it seems to just become too complex. But yeah, I start with dark around the edge.
But that's I mean, I would say that's kind of like a theme. You've got a lot of simplification going on here. So you know, instead of getting drawn into the little fur and the little bits of detail, you're stepping back. You know, squinting perhaps. Are you squinting?
I maybe a little bit. I'm not much of a squinter.
Not much of a squinter.
Maybe that's something I could do more. And yeah, it's just about getting the highlights in the eyes right as well.
What about varnishing and finishing the painting off?
Yeah, I do varnish. Yeah, I use this stuff, Gamvar gloss.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Well, apparently you only need to wait sort of 2 to 3 weeks or something before you varnish.
So you can much easier, you know, send them
off.
Yeah,
that's made my life a lot easier. I usually give it a month to be safe, but yeah, I just give it a coat or 2 of that, really.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carl, for showing us your, you know, how you're working through a painting. Oh, I wanted to ask specifically on whiskers. Is there any kind of, are you scraping away from the canvas? Are you using a certain type of brush? What are you doing there?
I just use a very fine brush, and I try to keep them fairly random as well. And I try to focus on like the shine rather than the actual whisker. Does that make sense? And I try to make the very quick kind of jagged strokes rather than like flowing sometimes as well. And I sometimes put them just in mid-air as well, if you probably noticed.
Right, yeah, you can see in this one, you've got just a few little.
And it's sometimes a case of just like dragging the color that is on your brush from the previous whisker back through again, rather than applying paint. I think it's still something I'm experimenting with, but.
You've got a great use of the dark on the light background, light on the dark background. You know, the whiskers aren't always white, right? You know, they're going to be.
No, you get black ones.
And I think the same with fur. You know, you've got quite a light coloured cat or something, or dog, and it's still going to have a very distinct shadow side and shadow planes. And I think you capture that really well. And we have a little bit of a habit of working too quickly. Last week with the dinosaur, trying to get that done in 30 minutes. So I was curious, how long do these portraits take you normally?
I mean, they take me all day, but there is a lot of procrastinating and pacing and checking my phone and walking up and down and, you know, having breaks, coming back to it during that. So it's hard to say, put it down to an exact time.
I guess that pacing and that helps you just take a break. You take a visual break and come back.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, sometimes I take it a bit too far, but it's necessary.
Go down the beach.
Yeah, I live right next to the beach, so I have to do that to clear my head if I'm getting stressed out. I can't decide what's wrong with a piece. I'll just go for a walk and come back, and sometimes I see it when I return home. Yeah.
Something we ask all our guests, Carl, is what's your favourite book, art book, painting book? Have you got any favourites?
I think this is an area where I struggle because I never really studied art. I basically learned more or less everything from YouTube and just trial and error.
Well, a YouTube channel, sure. YouTube's brilliant.
I mean, I can give you one YouTuber I used to love watching, Ben Lustenauer.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Really good guy. Really good.
Like, it's just incredible, and the amount of content he has on there for free is amazing as well. Like, this valuable information that he's just putting out there. I think YouTube played a huge part in me learning to paint. Like I say, other than that, it was mostly trial and error.
It's becoming a different world. I mean, I buy a lot of art books and, you know, read a couple of pages every week, but you could spend hours on YouTube like that, you know, and get exactly what you're looking for.
I probably need some art books, so if there are any you would recommend to me, I will buy them and read them.
Yeah, there's definitely some that are, yeah, one we looked at last week, The Colour and Light by James Gurney. So we're about to paint our own pet portraits now, inspired by your work. So do you have any advice for our viewers for this next couple of hours?
I'd say try to look for like colours that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Yeah, always like your greens and your purples, and don't just paint a brown dog brown. Maybe a little squinting, and I do exaggerate them as well sometimes. Like if I see, for example, if I see something that looks a bit like a brown that looks a bit more green, I might throw some more green into my mix than is actually there, just because I think it will add more harmony to the piece. But in terms of advice, I would always say I found it really helpful to choose reference photos that had a lot of shadows.
Definitely, yeah, give yourself like that, the best starting position you can, right?
Yeah, and get the drawing right before you start as well. Don't start painting if you're not happy with the drawing.
Thanks, Carl. Well, we're gonna give it our best shot. Make sure you go and follow Carl on Instagram and Facebook at Portrait Painter Carl. Great feed. I love seeing your work. And yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say or you'd like me to ask you, Carl?
Going back to advice, one thing that also really helped me is I try to wait as long as possible before I use any whites at all, because it can just desaturate your mixes too much.
Right. So even putting it into the mix.
Yeah, I don't even put white on my palette anymore. I wait until I'm kind of 2/3 of the way through, and then I allow myself to have that white there. So I do as much as I can without using white.
Wow, that's a really cool.
Use colours like yellow and maybe a pale green.
And so you're just keeping a bit more saturation, a bit more chroma. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I noticed you used it looks like a toned palette as well, sort of match the toned canvas.
I mean, it definitely helps, but it's just kind of toned through time, really. It used to be this colour, and now
cool.
It's this. So it's just like a build-up of paint over months. I always clean it with, I just use paper towels to rub it off. And
nice, so you've got that nice neutral surface.
Yeah, it's a neutral surface, yeah. One thing I would say that I think I still struggle with now, in terms of value and colour, you want to make sure you keep, because you're working from dark to light, as you add more midtones in, your darks they'll start to look different to when you place them. So you always need to be checking back and adjusting what you've done previously.
Their relative darkness will change, or
absolutely. Yeah. I often put my darks in too dark, and then the contrast is too high, so I need to go back and lighten them.
But I guess that's a good mistake to have. That's a good problem to have, right? Because you can quite easily lighten, and you can't as easily darken, right? Carl, thank you so much. And I know you live in Norfolk, just a couple of hours away. We'll have to get together and do some painting. Or
yeah, I'd be up for that. Definitely do some plein air.
Yeah, it'd be really good to meet you in person.
I've just started plein air the first time I did it was a few months ago, and I think I've tried about 3 times, and it is very challenging. So I would like to try it with somebody so I can kind of have a look at what they're doing as well.
I was painting yesterday, did this viaduct, and we just got killed by the heat. It was too much. It was. I think we had the hottest day. Days ago, didn't we? Thanks so much for coming on the stream, Carl. It's brilliant to have you on, and thanks for sharing your work with us too.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Wow, brilliant interview. Thanks, Carl. some really amazing tips there that we're going to use. And Carl's work, just incredible, right? I mean, yeah, just so inspiring. Carl, thank you. I can see you in the chat. I just want to say hi. And yeah, everyone go and follow Carl. Fantastic artist. So let's get into the underdrawing, right? So let's start these pictures. Here we go. So breaking down the underdrawing, I'm going to try and give you the information you need. I'm sorry, we're going to give ourselves the information we need when it comes to paint. Okay, so as I said, not just sketching for in pencil for a pencil drawing. It's a totally different ball game. Okay, we're sketching for a painting. So I've broken it down into 4 stages. Here we go. So number 1, focus on the proportions using large shapes. Number 2, reinforce the structure and form. So there we're gonna, once we've got that initial initial proportions down with straight lines, and we've really broken it down simply, we can then reinforce that structure. You know, make sure we've got things like the eyes correct, we've got the heads, and everything looks like it should, and it's where it should be. And then we're going to make note of the direction of light and the changes in value. So it looks like a bit of a mess, number 3, but actually what I've done there is I've kind of outlined everything that has got a change in value. Okay, and that's going to be really helpful for when it comes down to putting them brush strokes in. We know where to place them. Now number 4, this is kind of, we don't actually need to note this down, but it's really good practice to observe. And we're making note of the changes in color on the animal. Okay, so you can see I've outlined a few areas where the fur's gone slightly more brown or slightly more blue or green or red, and it's these changes in color that we're going to accentuate and really go for in the painting. So really good to be aware of that change in color. Okay, we've got 20 minutes to start the sketch to do this underdrawing. So, hold on.
Jake, a couple of people are asking if they have to do the animal on the stream or if they can do their own pet or animal.
Oh, great question. So, yeah, guys, you can paint along with me or you can paint your own animal. Okay, so now's a great time to get a good reference. If you haven't got one already, on your phone, make sure there's a lot of light and shadow on the picture, and it's a nice clear one as well, nice clear picture. If you don't want to paint from your own reference, feel free to paint along with me. This is actually Molly. This is Carl's sister's cat. Wonderful cat. I'm sure I haven't met Molly, but I thought, wow, what an image, and that needs to be painted. So it's totally up to you whether you want to do your own image or join along with me. So let's start the timer, and let's start sketching. So here we go. Focus on proportions using large shapes. Now, I'm going to keep this overlay up for me for now, for us for now, just so that we can imagine like this box around the animal. Okay, so your animal, it's going to be different, but can you simplify it into simple shapes? So here I've done the head as a box, and then I'm going to cut into that box to make the ears. And the reason we use straight lines and we're using these boxes is because they're much easier to gauge the ratios and the distances that we need. So I can tell that line there is so far away from the edge of the canvas. That ear at the top is so far away from the top, and so on. So this part, where the back of the cat is, Molly's back, it's just a little bit lower than halfway. So you can see that's really valuable information. Lower than halfway down the canvas. Right, let's do it. Starting the timer. let's have a sketch. So we can start with that box. Can you simplify your animal picture into just some simple shapes? Okay, just really rough, and it's really good to get the larger shapes and larger proportions down before we move on to anything else. You know, if we started drawing the eyes, we started drawing one ear, it's very possible that we would get that slightly wrong, and then we'd have to come back and correct it, rub it out and correct it. So starting large and then slowly refining down is a great way to start. Now, important that you get the line of the eyes correct. Okay, get that angle. Okay. It's probably a little bit lower down than that. And here we go. If you can hear a car outside, that's my neighbours arriving. Just want to say hi to Ollie, neighbour. He watches the stream sometimes. Cool. Okay, so let's focus. We need to get this right. We need to get this straight lines. So you can see this chin. Oh, camera's frozen. There we go, we're back. You can see this chin part is lower than the back. So I know for a fact that that's going to be lower than the back. I can place that on. Okay. Maybe a central line down the face here. Okay, so let's move on in a minute to the next part. Once you've got these basic shapes down. If anyone has any questions, please ask in the chat. I'll try and get to them. Okay, so moving on from them really basic shapes. Now, we need to reinforce the structure and the form, okay? Because once we've got this layout, we know where things should be on the canvas, we now need to give it the form and the life that the pet, the animal, the subject deserves. So I've got a little example for you. There you go. So you can see I've starting to think about the head as a solid object now. So I can really imagine the forms of the cheeks and the ears, and just noting that down to give it a little bit more three-dimensional, a little bit more of a three-dimensional feel, and it's more convincing. So I'm going to take that off and have a go at doing that. Okay, let's make sure we get these eyes right. Quite close to the nose there. So I'm looking at the distance these eyes are from the nose. And with eyes as well, it's very good to, if you can, make them into straight lines so that you're getting the right angles on the eyes. Okay, so mine look a bit sloppy at the moment, but I'm sure we can come back to that. Okay, so I can see that the nose of the cat is coming towards us, changes direction slightly, and goes like that back. Let's line up the eye with the ear, work out where that is. Just give these ears a bit more form. So yeah, really important that the structure of this nose is visible, or that I'm getting it in the right spot. So a bit of a different week this week. If you're doing your own portrait, normally we're drawing the same subject, aren't we? But I hope it's going well. I'm going to try and give you tips that are going to that you can use for your image as well. Okay, so here, make sure you've got them eyes in line, and tips of the ears as well. Look at the angle that's created there and try and recreate that. So I need to bring this ear up. And at this point, you know, don't be too worried if your drawing does look a bit bad. It's absolutely fine. You know, this is not a beauty contest for this sketch. Remember, we're giving ourselves information. Okay, so just want to make a suggestion of this being round and a change in form there. Now, next up, we've got make note of the direction of light and changes in value. All right. Okay, so in my image, the direction of light, the light's coming from this top left corner. So I can do a little arrow, put that down, and your image is going to be different. So make sure you really study your image and try and work out where the strongest light source is coming from. Could be the sun, could be an indoor light. Okay, and that's going to help us now put this light, the shadows and light on these forms. I'm going to show you the overlay of this one. So again, it looks kind of like spaghetti, it looks kind of crazy, and it looks almost like I've traced the drawing, yeah? But what I'm doing is I'm drawing wherever there's a change in tone. So you can see I've drawn a line underneath the chin because it gets darker, it's lighter and then it gets darker, so that's a change in tone. I've even drawn lines inside the eyes because we've got a dark tone in the eye and then a light tone in the eye. Okay, so every single place that you see a change in tone. Let's now try and put that on. Right, this is the majority of the drawing. Hold on. There we go. So I'm going to take that back off and rub out just a little bit, rub out some of them guidelines, just so it's a little bit lighter. And now we're going to come in and note down all them changes in value. I'm going to work quite rapidly over the image, and you don't need to be too cautious as well. You can, we're going to paint all the way over this, so if it's rough and ready, that's absolutely fine. darker bits, making sure we note them down. Any parts of your portrait where the fur is changing from a dark to a light, put a line. Okay, because most important thing is value, and what we're doing right now is just noting down all of them changes in value. It's going to make our portraits so much easier to do. So here, fur is changing colour. What's that lining up with? So we can look at the nose, keep lining up, keep being aware of where you are on the page. We're going to do a little bit of an outline because that's also a change in value. So this really is the hard work here, and the painting will be smooth sailing once we've got this down. So look, we've got some darker areas on the ears. Let's note that down. Might want to correct your drawing if you need to. Okay. So we're getting it. How's everyone getting on? It's a great interview, wasn't it? Fantastic. So inspiring, and the fact that Carl has only more recently got into painting, and he's making a success of it, making a career out of it. Absolutely wonderful. Shows us all that it's possible. So thank you, Carl. Now, I don't want to put too much into the eyes because I don't want that, as I said, that mesmerizing effect. Check and make sure that your eyes and your ears are at the right angles. Okay. Okay. So just So the reason we've got this toned canvas and the tone palette as well is so that we can more easily gauge our values when we come to do painting. But also, it's lovely to have a toned canvas because then you can even let areas shine through. If you were having a bright canvas, like bright blue or something, it'd be lovely to see spots of that shining through. Because this image is quite grey, the grey shining through might actually be quite a good benefit as well. But yeah, the grey is generally just great because it's a nice even, and you're not being your mind's not being tempted by any colour there. Okay, so I think I've got more or less the lines needed to show the difference between the lights and the darks. Might spend a little bit more time on that. I just want to show you the next slide as well, where we're making note of the changes in colour. So let's just look at your image for a second and think, yeah, well actually over here there's more brown, and then it goes kind of grey, and then it's definitely pinker. There's some pinks and some maybe some oranges in the ears. Really lovely green, yellowy, green, awesome. But just make sure you're paying attention again with color, because as Carl said, we don't want to just paint a brown dog brown. And so I'm not going to paint this gray and white cat just gray and white. I'm going to introduce that color. So even here in the shadows, we could add some reds perhaps, and some oranges, and maybe in the fur we could even introduce some cool colors, some blues. So take a second to look at any color changes. Sometimes there's a color change like here, but without a value change. So it's really good to just note them bits down as well. Yeah, there's some of the color changes. More green spaghetti. Okay. So we've got another just under 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna carry on with the sketch. Just make sure we're totally ready, giving ourselves all that information. So I've intentionally left out things like whiskers and any detail because we're going to be painting over this. And the whiskers, we can put on right at the end. We can look back and we can draw them on the end. Give your eyes a little squint when you look at your reference, just to check that you've got all of them value changes. Cannot wait to see what you guys paint. I'm going to do a little bit of measuring, bit of double checking. So just take 2 points, totally random, and see if on them 2 points relate the same on your reference. So here I've taken the width of the eyes, and it goes from that corner of the ear to this ear. It's the same on the reference. So actually, I think this ear needs to come across a little bit. So glad I checked that. We can put that ear a bit further across. Just take a few random places and check. Last minute. Okay, last few marks then. There we go. Okay, we've got our drawing set up. for our painting. So again, it doesn't look great because we've put down information. We're not sketching for it to look nice, putting down information. So hopefully we've made it a little bit better for ourselves in the future. We're going to take a little 5-minute break. If you want to carry on sketching your reference, go ahead and stay hydrated. We'll be back in 5 minutes and we'll start painting.
That's right. It's time for a Jake's Hat Club. I hope you're ready. Tips and techniques every 2 weeks. 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 Tips and techniques every 2 weeks.
Hello, hello, hello. Hope you had a nice little break and you get your sketch ready. So yeah, before we paint, okay, I just want to try something a little bit different. Maybe you could join me, and yeah, we're going to close our eyes and just take a few deep breaths, okay, and try and connect with the present, okay, and everyone else painting at home. So close your eyes and take a couple of nice deep breaths, but breathe in for about 5 seconds and then out for about 8 seconds. Okay, ready? So in, out, okay, another nice deep breath in for 5 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 8 seconds. Okay, so we're taking a couple of nice deep breaths. Now keep your eyes closed, and now let's imagine everyone around the world that's joining in and painting with us today. Okay, so we've got people all over Europe, we've got someone in America, and they're painting with different materials, different rooms. Now let's send some good intentions to everyone, okay? Let's offer, with our eyes closed still, let's offer some kindness, some happiness, and some joy to everyone that's painting today. So someone might be painting for the first time, and let's offer them some confidence, and that's really, we're in this together, aren't we? So let's create that net of positivity and connectiveness. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing that with me. I hope that you felt a little bit connected with everyone around on the stream painting. And if you're watching this after the fact, perhaps you could wish some wellness for the next person to view the stream. But yeah, I think there's too much news and too much stress going on in the world at the moment. So just a little bit of good intention and nice togetherness in a class like this. And of course, the fact that we can't be all in the same room together and we can't be sharing them experiences, at least we can share some good thoughts. So no more third eye chakras, no more waiting or sketching. Let's get into it. So this was our preparatory drawing and our reference. And okay, we're gonna start off. We've got an hour, so we've got plenty of time. We're gonna start from dark to light and try and pick a nice big brush to start with. Okay, because I always like to use the biggest brush possible for any given area. Oh, here I've got palette cam as well. Let me adjust that so you can see a little bit of what I'm mixing and doing on the palette. Okay, so Hannah says that's the first time she's actually breathed today. Good. Well, glad you had a nice pause, and thanks for joining us, Hannah. Okay, so dark to light, nice big brush. I'm going to start with a background first as well, and so that will help us to establish our tones and our values again. And I'm going to use a little bit of turpentine as well, so I'm going to mix up a dark. We don't have a black paint, okay, so Yeah, maybe I can move this up away from my hand. That might be helpful. And a little bit of turpentine, Gamsol, sorry, and a little bit of blue, brown, red, and we're creating our own black. There we go, and just a little bit of thinner to loosen it up, and we can go and block in the background. I just realized this, you're just going to see my arm. Hold on. There we go. Maybe like this. There we go. Oh, you still see my arm a little bit. Okay, here we go. And when you're doing the background, just be loose with it. You know, let the brush speak. You know, let it be a brush. We're not, you know, slowly, carefully putting in the background. Let's block it in, okay? And let's go for it. And also, don't be afraid to go over your lines a little bit, okay? It's good to, we can change up the color a little bit, bring a little bit more brown in, a little bit more red perhaps. So we've got lots of variation going on in the background. But also, you know, what I was saying about these crossing over the lines is that we're going to come back with the fur. So here we're going to come back with the fur and go over the background. So it really helps if we cover up some of the drawing. Okay, so let's just block this in and start the timer. You got a few extra minutes there. So nice to be with you too, Melissa. Thanks for joining us. There we go, so just blocking in. Oh, I went over the ear a little bit, but you know what? That doesn't matter. We're just establishing our darkest background here. Okay, nice and thin, and just blocking in. There we go. We can come back to that and make that more interesting later. If you've got quite a busy background, you know, you've got lots of, maybe you've got a person in the background, you've got some things. What I want you to do is simplify it, okay, and really, really make sure the focus here is on your pet, not the background, not someone, you know, doing something in the background or perhaps the place. Really simplify it and let's focus our energy on the wonderful creature. So Carl started by saying that we can start from the darks, but also try and lighten the darks without using white. That's first. So in a minute we're going to use some yellow to try and lighten these darks up and put in this area, the darkest areas of the coat. But first of all, I'm going to get a smaller brush and put in the darks of all the details. So it's a chance to get your drawing right again. So don't just trust what you've put down, but carry on editing and carry on improving your drawing. But these nice dark parts of the eye I can put in. That's what I would suggest if you've got any specific dark areas. So Jane's drawing a black dog, so I don't want you to paint the whole of the dog, but just, you know, give it a squint and just paint in the darkest areas that you can with this initial real dark color that you've mixed. Okay, and I'm just going to go around, and anywhere on the coat where there's dark spots, I'm going to place them in. Isn't that great? We've sketched them in already. So we can just place them in nice and quick. There we go, a little bit there. There's some dark around here. Okay, it's really important that you keep checking your drawing. You're basically drawing with the brush. You know, we're not switching off that function anymore. We're constantly checking and redrawing. Okay, so I think I've put in most of these dark areas. I don't want to put in the actual pupils of the eye yet. I want to save that for later. Let's go back to our big brush. And let's look at the next level of tone. Okay, so perhaps we can put in some dark areas. With the brush. And really I want you to think we're placing in values. Okay, we're not painting individual hairs here. See how forceful I'm being with the brush? We're really going for it, covering whole areas. Okay, and let's add a little bit of yellow to lighten that just a bit. I see that coat being a little bit brown, a little bit red. A little bit of white, just a tad. Just something in there. Okay, so then the next darkest area I can see is on this right side of the face. So look for your next darkest area. And it looks quite red, that area. So I'm going to mix some red into my grey. And start to put that in. So what I'm doing there is when I say I want to mix red in my grey, I'm taking a bit of red, putting it in this mass that I have here, this dark mass of the mixture. And then if it's too red, I'm putting a little bit of blue and a little bit of brown or yellow in to counteract that, you know, because if you remember when we were looking at colour mixing, what I'm doing there is I'm desaturating the colour by adding what's opposite the colour wheel. So just slightly lightening it, putting in some reds that I can see. Still using a nice big brush. Oh, a little bit of white caught in the brush there. Okay, and now I'm going around putting in the dark areas, but making sure I'm getting a similar colour to its local colour, so whatever's happening in the flesh or in the hair. Now I just want to mention another great thing for values. If you've printed out a picture of your reference, you can use that to check your values. Okay, so we can take that mixture there, that red mixture there, and we can place it on. So actually I was being, can you see? I was being quite light with my dark there, so I could probably go even darker. It's drying quite fast. It's making like a reaction. But yeah, what's happening there? Because it's a printed photo, it's doing something strange. But just a little dab, and we can kind of see if that's in the right ballpark, you know, area. And then when we come to do whites and things later, we can dab on the light sides of the painting and just make sure we're getting the similar values. So here you can see pure white. Can you see that? Hold on, I'll put it to autofocus. White here. You can see that pure white is too white for this coat. So we don't want to use pure white. You know, if we dulled it down a bit. A little bit of grey. Too grey perhaps, so that's quite nice for that area. You see, so you can use a photo just to dab on and check your values. So I do suggest you doing that if you're just starting out painting. It's really good, really handy, and good to be checking yourself, checking your values constantly. Now, where were we? Right, yeah, we're putting in values, so. Let's just keep putting in some values. That's a little bit yellower under the chin here. Try and squint your eyes and look for the values. So here, this side of the face, I can see a grey, and I'm just, at the moment, I'm just using, you know, a little bit of thinned paint, going around and blocking in values. Right, I want to go a bit lighter now, so let's go a bit lighter, but keep some colour. You can think of painting as just putting pieces of colour next to each other, and hopefully you get them in the right order. It will begin to look like the subject you're painting. A little bit of that brown there. Just going to change down the brush size. Just going around kind of systematically, you know, having a look, checking the value. Not worrying too much about brush strokes or anything. I'm just blocking in. I want to block in the right colors, the right values. That's the most important thing. Little patch there. Okay, so I'm still very much in the kind of darker tones, and in a minute I'm going to move on to the lighter tones. So if you can work in this dark to light fashion, it just helps you keep things organized a little bit. Not sure what I'm going to do with this area. I've gone a bit crazy with the colors, but we'll work that out as we get there. Okay, so we're 15 minutes in. We've started to block in some of the color, and we're really thinking about value, and we're accentuating any colors that we can see. So we're doing okay. Right, let's make a jump and put in some lighter tones now. So I want to bring the white and introduce it into the grey, because the white by itself, as we checked earlier, is way too bright. So we can introduce it into the grey. And I quite like the idea of the shadows being warm in this, and the highlights being a little bit cooler. So I'm going to try and make that grey a little bit blue, and see how that turns out. Okay. So as I'm putting my brush strokes on, I'm trying to get them right the first time, put them down, leave them. Try not to play around too much. Make sure you mix enough. Probably swap back over to the large brush. Always use the biggest brush possible. Biggest brush reasonable for any given area. There we go, so we've got some nice greys here in this coat, some reds towards the right. Perhaps I'm being a bit too light. Don't want to let that white affect the palette too much. There we go. Oh, can't see that bit. Hold on. Okay, so still massing in these values. We're getting towards the lighter values now on this fur, and I'm still really, squinting my eyes and thinking in values, thinking in tones. Smaller brush again. That's the darker side of the face, so it is going to be a little bit less bright. And then under the chin it's going to be even darker. So make sure we bring the grey in. Okay, so you can see a little bit of yellow in the ears there, just below the ears. These filberts get such a nice brush texture on the page. Filberts are the ones that are just like a little bit curved. You see, a little bit curved, so not the flat brushes that I normally use. Okay, so we've tried mixing colours without white. I've gone dark to light. We've done a bit of in and out, so in from the background, and soon we're going to go out with the fur. And we've simplified our background. We're waiting, we're keeping them eyes until the last moment. Okay, and we're really thinking of these patches of fur as areas, and we're not thinking of them as individual hairs. Okay, so I'm not taking my very minute brush and painting the hairs. That's you can definitely paint that way, and if you are, power to you. But at the moment, I'm still thinking of masses. Okay, so just a little bit of light there underneath the eye. I'm going to take a smaller brush and make sense of the face. So now I've kind of finished the block here. Now I need to think about the way I'm using the brush to try and suggest hair a little bit more. Okay, so we're starting to think of how these brush strokes are going to look in our final painting. Whereas before we were a little bit, sort of going all over the place, not really minding too much. Just something to be aware of. Using too much of a small brush. So now that I've got paint on the canvas, I'm not just using Bussell to fill in the paint. I'm using a mixture of Bussell and linseed, so that's 50-50 mix. And you can start just using the paint. I mean, I've been doing this already, but you can start using the paint just out of the tube. You don't even need to add anything to paint with oils. If you're using acrylics, maybe you can start to build up over these large areas that you've painted in. Carl says, my sister's watching you paint her cat live. No pressure. No pressure. Looks like a lovely cat. I know Laura that joins in has been joining in quite often recently. Her cat likes to watch the painting on screen. Gets kind of mesmerized by it. She's got some great stories on that. Instagram stories, she's not sitting at the pub talking about that. She might do. Right. This area is definitely lighter. Okay, so I'm going to show you my little fur trick now with the fan brush. So if you've got one of these, if you haven't got one, you can take any normal brush and just spread it out like that if it's clean and pinch it, and hey presto, you've got your own fan brush. Okay, so what's great about these fan brushes is we can, and I think this we don't want to use this too much, but just here and there it can start to push our paint into, you know, to and from, and make it kind of like really that furry texture, and quite light and fluffy. So here we just let's load it up with some white. Okay, and then let's, oh, there's a bit of blue in there, careful. White with a little bit of, oh, I keep getting my mix wrong. White with a little bit of blue. Okay, let's have a go. So just in a few places. And use it kind of, try not to be obvious with it, but use it kind of sparingly. So that's perhaps a bit too obvious. That we can come back and that we can come into, oh, that's a bit obvious, into the darks. Maybe that's enough there. Let's take this red mixture and go out into the darkness with it, and then come back come back from the background in. And you can see you don't want to do this too much, but it can just add a nice little effect of you know, texture. Nice, wow. It's coming together with a little bit of Molly. Looks really fluffy now, doesn't she? And we will have to kind of go back in. And maybe I'm getting carried away here. Tell me to stop. Okay, I'm going to stop with the brush for now. Stop with that fan brush, because that's one of them things. It's like a cheat. It's like a cheat code. If you spend all your time doing that, the values and the really necessary parts of the painting will begin to suffer. So let's get back to doing that hard work of getting the right color, the right value, and placing it down. Okay. So going back to the form of the nose, really trying to describe the form. Palette's getting a bit messy. Just got to be careful of that. Might scrape it in a minute. Start again. Okay, I think I'm going to just look a bit smaller for a second and just work out some of the details. There's something going on with his chin. It needs to be. It's kind of getting lighter at the bottom there. Not that light. Hey Max, how's it going?
Oh, Brett. Let's take a look.
Yeah, sure. Struggling.
He hasn't got any eyes yet.
No, yeah.
Looks good though.
We're struggling with this chin.
Do you need a drink?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Cool.
Thanks a lot. Okay, let's put in some of these. Swap to a smaller brush. And I'm going to put in some of the kind of tufts of hair. Here. In the ears. So there's this term, ugly painting, right, that I absolutely love, which doesn't mean that you've done a bad painting, but means that you've described an area with as little effort as possible with the paintbrush. So you're really, and up close, you know, it looked like a mess. It looked like, oh, what's he doing there? But then when you come back and you look at it from a distance, it works because the colours and the values come together. So yeah, whenever I'm sort of working with a really small brush, and I'm just drawing kind of, you know, just outlining areas, I think, right, well, that's not ugly painting. I'm being too obvious with the brush. So let's come back, come out, get a large brush, and see if you can do some ugly painting. So here we got 17 minutes left. So in a minute we can start to put them eyes on, perhaps. Got to put that back on. it's really fun painting to a you know, in a time limit. You have to be economical. Like that, just squinted and that's too bright there. Okay, let's have a go at these eyes. So Carl said when he was doing eyes, it's very much, again, simplification, but think of, you know, maybe 2 or 3 tones, 2 or 3 values. So let's clear a bit of the palette. Need some more. There we go. So 2 or 3 tones or colours. So that lovely green we've got here. I'm going to attempt to get that first. And because the eyes have got like a few colours, I'm going to try not to mix that paint completely, and I'm going to try and leave it a little bit unmixed on my brush so that we get a little bit of that dance of the iris, you know, the different colours there. Okay, and then the dark side of the face, you might think is the same colour, but it's going to be darker. The green is going to be different, even in the lightest areas. Okay, when it gets darker, it's kind of going a little bit warmer. A little bit of the grey of the page coming through there. I don't want to give the cat kind of mascara. I'm going to go in quite dark, and then I'm going to come back with some of the fur colour and make the mascara, you know, the dark lines around the eye less, make them smaller. The drawing's gone a little bit wonky on this eye, I think. So just going to be aware of that. Okay. I actually think that green's a bit brighter than that. There we go. That little change of colour on the right side of the nose, mustn't forget that. I'm going to make my black again. I'm mixing my blue, the red, and just a touch of brown. Made that pupil just a little bit too big, so I'm going back with the green. Yeah, I'm being a little bit too finicky, you know, with this. Just to put it down, commit, move on. Okay, let's put in some highlights there. Still not going to use my complete white. Just touch with the smallest brush you have. Oh, too much black white there. Not to worry, come back with the dark. There we go, back on track. Now I want to model this nose a little bit. Look at that pink end to the nose. Get that little coffee stain to the left of the nose there. A little bit of yellow. And then it's got a darker plane as it comes to meet in the middle. Oh, I'm pushing the camera away. Okay, we've got 5 minutes left, so let's take a step back and let's get out my chair. Take a step back and really just have a look at the painting and see what we need to change in this last 5 minutes. Okay, so we need to add some whiskers. We can finish the detail on the nose there. Perhaps we can fluff up the hair, fur, or just on the right side, left side a little bit. What about the values? I feel like that forehead, that white bit up there, just above the nose, needs a little bit more white. Okay, let's do this. Got these coloured parts leading like around the eyes. They're very bright, so I've gone dark with the eyes, and then I need to come light again around them. So easy to forget or lose track. Little pink bit on the ear there. Last few minutes. I'll make sure I capture that. Highlight on that ear. Okay, just gonna last minute. Molly's got such a lovely patterns on her face that I feel like I've missed. It's okay. Right, let's do some whiskers. So I'm going to take my smallest brush now, load it up with some white, but not pure white. Make sure you dull it by adding a little bit of colour, a little bit of grey. And let's try and do what Carl said, so just capturing just parts of the whiskers in the air. Okay. I'm going to go over time just a little bit just to get these whiskers. So characterful, these. So wonderful. That was a bit thick, that one. Last little touches. Just got sort of skimming across the canvas. Okay, right, I'm just gonna make that big one just a little bit smaller. And there we have it. With our pet portrait. So, I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun painting along with you. And look, if you've used one of these easels, just fill in the gaps, top and bottom. And there we go. Thanks so much, guys, for painting with me. Here's Molly. Yeah, I think, let me know, what do you think? Does it look like Molly? I'm quite happy with the painterly feel, you know, the fluffiness. Perhaps I could put a few more whiskers on, and maybe introduce a little bit more something in the background. We were going to revisit that. But yeah, I mean, for an hour's painting, that was a lot of fun. So I can't wait to see your work. Send it in at, I'll put it up on the screen. We've got there at the bottom. Go on Instagram, post your work, hashtag Jake's Art Club, and mention me at Jake Bussell Art. And Max is going to work away now behind the scenes, getting ready your images to show on the stream. So go away and well, no, don't go away. Stay here, take a picture, and share your work with us. Even if it's not finished, that's absolutely fine. I just love to see what you've done, and you can delete it after we've done the stream. And while you're doing that, I just want to say a big thank you to our patrons. You know, you really don't have to be a patron, but it's amazing that you choose to do so and support the channel directly. So really, thank you so much. It's brilliant, and it means that we can do bigger and better things with the channel. So thank you. You can find the Patreon link in the description if you fancy supporting the channel. And if not, you know, just having you here painting along is enough. It really is. But don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's take a look at last week's challenges. Now these are awesome. So I set you out during a heat wave, and I was like, okay guys, limited palettes, let's go outside. Let's be inspired by James Gurney, like our artist last week, and it really is such a great experience painting outdoors. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let's take a look at your work. So here's Kerry's painting. Love it. So getting in the garden, look at the light and the dappled light coming up about here, and even getting a figure in the frame. Really, really skilled, really lovely, and great use of color. I love these purples, these reds, these greens, lots of variety. You know, fantastic brushwork. It's awesome. I really love it. Beautiful indeed. Well done, Kerry. That's fantastic. Here we got Mrs. Flower. Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. I remember seeing this one and I was like, wow, like that's such a striking bridge. And I love your use of pen and adding little bits of details. And you've even got that little Union flag there in the distance, which I could see on your photo you took of the day. You know, you had like this wonderful bridge and that in the distance there. Yeah, let's look at the distance. That simplification of the buildings and the trees is really, really well done. You know, we can often put too much detail in, but you've put just the right amount, I think, and really nicely done with the boats. Strong shapes, well observed. They're really cool. Oh, wrong slide. Hold on a second. There we go. Oh, wrong slide again. There we go. This is Ella's one. So Ella came with me during the challenge, and she did this lovely kind of minimalistic impression of the viaduct, and I really love it. It's you know, it's quite kind of childlike but playful, and you know, I think that's a really good headspace to be in. Just, you know, creating patterns and having fun with the paint, and that's what I can see here. I can really see the enjoyment. So that's great. Well done. We've got Buddy Pen. Again, painting in the heat. Sorry about that. Nice limited palette. And good use of silhouettes. Yeah, I really like this. Maybe someone can recognize what pier that is. I can't recognize it. But it looks like a, you know, like a well-known landmark. You know, it looks awesome. I like your waves and that texture there. But isn't it strange? We've got so many people out on the beaches. I love it. Staying safe, but enjoying little holidays close to home. What else have we got? Oh, Donique went on a trip to this, I think it's like a area of dunes, like sandy dunes. And yeah, really cool. So she had the canvas in the front of the bike, you know, cycling along, and got a nice place to paint, and a really good limited palette. The blue, the yellow ochre, and the Van Dyke brown come together to create this kind of somber, hot day. You know, it's nice. I love it, and I love these little details of the grass coming through. Really, really cool. See if I can press the right button to go to the next. There we go. Yeah. So Debbie's painting of this lovely cottage in gouache. I love the composition. You know, full of foliage, and the tree there, the grass. Yeah, I love it. I really do, and I love the colours that you've chosen. It looks like a really fun day. Here we've got our Golden Beard's one. Love this, and what I really like about this is kind of the faithfulness to the shadows. So I know that when Golden Beard started off the shadows on the cottage were exactly that you see that drop shadow from the roof, and he's done really well to keep that in his memory. And to, you know, change the color of the yellow there really well. Really, really impressive. I like your use of big painterly brush strokes. You know, it's vibrant. It looks happy. You know, it looks like a nice scene that you'd want to be in. So, yeah, good light observation there, and good painting. We've got Terry's image. I love this. So I love the colors that have been used here. They've really come together and create something kind of mysterious, but great textures. Great textures. You know, great. Like there's almost like a pattern on the surface here, and I'm really intrigued by it. You know, I'm drawn into this image. I'm thinking, I want to carry on in this garden or this area and see what's around the corner. So yeah, fantastic, great composition as well. And there we are, back to the start. So guys, fantastic work in the challenge. I know we did have a heat wave, and it was a bit tricky to get outside, but really good work. And thanks for trying plein air, which is painting plein air, which is one of my favourite things to do, and I'm really happy that we could share that. I know some of you got some sort of funny comments from people out and about. It's all part of the fun. Okay, here we go. So next week's challenge. The next week we're looking at drawing from your imagination. So we're just dropping the paints for a bit, and we're going back to the sketchbooks, and we're going to really push our minds. We're going to do like an intense course of drawing from imagination next week. And your task this week, for the next 2 weeks, is to sketch your own imagined species. Okay, so I want you to combine 3 animals. You can use photo references for inspiration. You can use whatever medium you like. But create your own species. Okay, so I'm really testing your imagination and your skills here. Don't forget to name your species, and maybe you can, when you post it, you can put it out and not tell people what the animals are, and they can try and guess what animals you've used to create your species. So share that artwork, share that sketch by the 30th of August to be featured on the stream. I'd love to see what you create. Here we've got at the side, we've got, I think it's like a little cockapoo, a puppy face, a frog eyes and legs, and a parrot. So I've kind of, that's like an idea of what you could the possibilities are endless, right? We can create our own species here. So how are we getting on with the gallery? Let's have a look. Max, how's it going? We'll try and load up some of your images. Oh, he needs another second. Let's have a look. Can't wait to see what you've painted. Hope you enjoyed this week. Try to simplify it a little bit and make it. I can't see the images. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to talk to you for a little bit. But we tried to simplify the stream a little bit this week. Okay, so that we've got less kind of. All good.
Yes, I've done a few, but keep sending them in.
Yeah.
We'll do a second folder here.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So Max says keep sending your work in. Remember, guys, it doesn't have to be finished. It doesn't have to be good. Send them in. We'd love to see what you've done, and we'll get a chance to see them in just a moment. Hashtag Jake's Art Club on Instagram, and we'll be able to see them. But yeah, so we've simplified the stream a little bit, so with some good feedback from you guys. So if you want to reach out and offer some feedback or some ideas that you have for the stream, then please do, because that really helps. We're always looking to improve this and make it, kind of educational, fun, relaxing, and yeah, as good as it can be. Okay, let's have another look. That's the wrong folder. I'm in trouble this end, bro.
Oh, I think you didn't have the folder.
Yeah? What did you put them?
Just in the week 4.
Just here?
I
can't find them.
Oh, is your Dropbox not synced?
Maybe, yeah. Dropbox is causing the trouble.
Do you want to try and open up Dropbox?
Let's have a look. Be with you in 1 second, guys. Just gonna get this sorted out. I think where I've changed internet connection, something's happened with my Dropbox. There we go, syncing, lovely. Right, let's have a look. Should be a folder that I can grab now. Sorry to keep you. There we go. Let's have a look. Oh, wow. Fantastic. Beautiful. Mrs. Flower, so she painted painted Molly with us. That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. So you've got that nice brightness of the white on the left side, and then it's getting, you know, that obvious clear shadowy side on the right, and some lovely texture. Carl's sister's going to be chuffed that you've painted Molly as well. Beautiful, lovely green eyes, and yeah, really well done. Love it. We've even got a little picture of the sketch too, so we can see you started strong, and you've used some of them techniques. Wonderful. Look at this. It's Alfie. It's a new family member, Clive. Give Alfie a little pet. She's been a great model. Absolutely love it. Love the texture you've used. Yeah, fantastic. What an expression. Looks like a right cheeky fella. I love the way you've put on the hairs and the fur, sorry, and just suggested it. But you haven't put it on, you know, it's not too much, and you've still got them values correct, and you've got the nice bright shine of the eyes. Love it. I really love it. Well done, Clive. Look at this. Jane's painted Darcy. This is wonderful. Lovely, big, painterly brushstrokes. Nice yellow underpainting. This is wonderful. So it looks a little bit menacing. I know Darcy, but she's harmless, really. She's giving us the scowl a little bit. Feed me. No, but Jane, love it. Really well done. Yeah, I mean, you can step back and the values there really work well, and that's to paint a black dog with that much colour is a really good skill. So that's fantastic. Love it, absolutely love it. We've got another Molly. Love it, well done. We're putting them whiskers on. You've got a few more on than me right at the last minute. Love your eyes. The eyes are so deep. They've got such a nice feeling to them. They're like, you know, I can feel the depth in the eyes there. It's wonderful. And yeah, nice use of texture. That looks like acrylic, is it? Really nice, and kind of laid it up well. Looks like is that like a, not sure on your underpainting. It looks like an orange underpainting, but maybe you've put that orange in, and really well done, capturing them colour accents on Molly there. Love it. Well done. We've got another one. Look at this guy. Wow, River. Well done, Twisty Reds. This is fantastic. Love that expression. Love the hair, the fur, and you've got a real great composition. You know, straight on, and it's filled the space so well. I love the green on the left and the yellow on the right, and yeah, good values. I'm really That's really striking. It's really nice. Oh, we've got another cat. Well done. This is fantastic. It's Gracie, the cat. Love it. I love this watercolor effect and the way the patterns on the fur are kind of melting together. I'm going to do a watercolor stream soon. One of these, and I'd love to paint watercolors with you. I like the way you put on the whiskers too. I'd love to know what that was. Is that like a white pen, or is that a white pencil over the top? Love it. Beautiful piercing eyes with beautiful color. Really fantastic. Love it. Well done. Ah, look at this. We've got Fluffy Kitty 7. Love it. Look at that texture. Really cool. We've got some greens, some browns, some reds. All sorts. A little bit of pink in the ear. It's a very nice drawing. Well observed. And yeah. No, really nice. Really, really nice. Fantastic. Don't normally paint like this, you say, but it's worked out quite well. Awesome. Hope you learned something new. Hope you got something from the stream. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Awesome. Is that your pet? Is that anonymous post? But I'd love to know if that was your pet. That's scary. Imagine that sitting on your lap watching the telly. Oh, is that a moose or like a bull? Awesome. I love the landscape that it's in. The contrast to the warm and cool. It's really fantastic. Love it. Really, I love it. Yeah, just great subject. Ah, look at this. Donique again. Love it. Absolutely love it. Look at that. Such a sweet little cat. Really nicely done. Lots of new techniques, lots of new things we're talking about today, and you've really put them to work. I love that that fluffiness that you've managed to capture with the fur, and you're looking at all the different color accents and looking around and checking your values. So Donique, really well done, and thanks for sending it in. Such a beautiful cat. Oh, okay, and that's the first one again. So let's just see if we've got another folder for a few more. Ah, wow. Very much not happy with it, but here's my pet study for Jake's Art Club. Jack, well, I think you should be happy with it. You've got the values lovely there. It's great color accents. I'm just taking a step back from the screen, and yeah, your values are spot on. You've got some nice form coming through, and it looks like quite a tricky fur to paint, you know. But you've done really well, really, really well. I love the looseness and the different marks that we can see. So yeah, fantastic. Really love it. Well done, Jack. Hey, we've got Cheryl joining in. I love this. Look at this. It's like another watercolor, I think. Love it. Really cool technique. I like the highlights of the whiskers. Again, these cats have such beautiful eyes. I feel like I need to go back and brighten up Molly's eyes a little bit, because her eyes were also dazzling, weren't they? And yeah, love that texture and the pattern on the forehead there. Awesome. Oh, and then we're back to Jack's one, which, Jack, thanks for submitting. I loved it. So, guys, amazing work. I hope you've enjoyed painting your pet portrait. And if you're watching later on as well. I just want to say, hope you've had a good time, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with how to draw from your imagination. So I'm going to do a nice big. It's going to be a real challenging course, but we're going to get the sketchbooks out. Going to really go for it next week, and so don't forget the challenge: painting your own, creating your own species from 3 different animals. Hashtag us, and we'll review them next week. And yeah, thanks for joining me. It's been a great evening. I've really enjoyed it. I think I just keep looking over at Molly, and I keep seeing a few little details that I've missed, like the little bits of the nose, little bits of the. So if you want to carry on with your portrait, feel free to. But thanks so much. It's been amazing. So that's it, James. Get your sketchbooks out. You know. Cool. Well, thanks everyone, and I'll see you. See you next week. Not next week. We'll do the challenge video. See you in 2 weeks. See you guys.
That's right. It's time for a Jake's Art Club. I hope you're ready. Tips and techniques every 2 weeks. Tips and techniques.